Hello and a very warm welcome to Saturday Confessions right here on TV47. My name is Leangare and my sign language interpreter tonight is Ann Wairimo. As we promised you, Simon Kimani, aka Bamboo the Rapper, is here with us today to share his story. Let me remind you, last week on Saturday we had his wife Erica Mukisa, who shared a very chilling story of having an experience of 18 years serving the devil directly. Now, Erica Mukisa is married to Bamboo, who is also here in studio to share his equally chilling story of almost selling his soul to the devil. Remember, you can engage us through our social media platforms, that is TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Right now, let's delve into the discussion. Hi, Bamboo. Hello. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I see you have quite a number of books, by the way.
Yes, we do.
And I'm sure we'll be looking at that as we move on.
Yes, we will.
You know, it's so good to have you, and it's so good to hear people who have gone through these experiences, because most people choose to be quiet about them,
yes,
and others because they perhaps have had maybe a traumatic experience they want to share. Of course, you have been in the music industry for quite some time.
Yes.
Let's begin there. How long have you been in the music industry?
Oh wow, since 1997, when and I was just a kid. So since 1997, so it's been over 20 years.
20 years?
Yes, over
And
20 years.
How many stages have you been able to get on, you know, across the globe, Kenya?
Oh wow, I can't even count how many. You know, entertainment took me all over the world. You know, so you know, I've been across stages, across East Africa, across Europe, and the US. Yeah.
All right. I just want to understand. Of course, we already know you almost sold your soul to the devil because of influence from people.
Yes.
Tell us about the build-up of your career, just a little bit of history.
Well, the music bug has always been in our family. You know, my dad was a musician, so I guess he must have got it from his father, and it's in our bloodline. We just love music. And so, you know, I got into music early. I was still in high school when I was, you know, doing music, and amazingly, you know, music's doors just kind of opened up for me, and I was able to just, you know, really get into it and really build a following. And so as the years progressed, of course, I joined a group called K-South. K-South stood for Kariobangi South, and we built our buzz just through word of mouth. You know, social media wasn't even big at that time, but just through word of mouth and just by you know, being consistent and being really creative. We used to practice all the time. So yeah, we got really good. And you know, the word of mouth, you know, our name spread, our brand spread, and we found ourselves traveling and doing all kinds of things. Then I went solo. And after I went solo, one of my major singles was called Kompe, and it took off. And that allowed me to travel back to the U.S. I grew up in the U.S. from childhood to about, I must have been about 15 when I came to Kenya. And then went to high school. I continued with my studies, but I was doing music at the same time. And so I traveled back to the U.S. through music. And began touring, you know, in different states, and that's how I was able to meet a lot of the, you know, superstars that are in the U.S. behind the scenes. And
let's just talk a bit about your exposure. Like,
yeah.
You've mentioned that you were able to travel globally. You've been able to meet quite a number of international artists.
Oh yeah.
The few that you've met, who are they?
Wow. I met Akon. I don't know, you know, maybe he might be kind of old by now, but Akon, ran into Jay-Z in New York. I've run into so many different artists, Ja Rule. I met Gucci Mane. I've met so many artists in Atlanta, you know, because I would frequent the places where, you know, they would often go to. I was writing behind the scenes for Convict Music for some time. And so because I have the gift and the skill to create records, to craft records and to write, I was able to get in and you know, get to know some of these guys behind the scenes, you know. Yeah.
You know, for many artists, I'll say, I also tried out music.
Wow.
At some point. I mean,
Yes.
everyone wants to be a superstar.
Yeah.
And I tried out music at some point, and I realized it's very difficult to penetrate the music industry.
Yes.
Even the global industry is even harder.
Yeah.
Now, if the Kenyan industry is even hard, how were you able to access this big names such as Jay-Z?
Yeah.
I've also seen a picture of you with Russell Simmons.
Yes.
How are you able to get into contact with them?
I think through, well, there's the talent, and then there's the hard work, and then connections, you know, and just remain consistent. And you're able to kind of move up just through working hard. You know, anything that you really put your mind to do, I believe anybody can really, you know, get in and really do. But the connections and networking and staying in it, you know, can really get you far. Yeah, I mean, because now there's people who are in the industry who are not even talented, but because they're committed, they move to, you know, those next levels. And so, yeah, just, you know, the level of commitment and being able to work hard, yeah, and having talent.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I now actually trying to understand is, at what point did you now start meeting these people who are trying to lure you into devil worshipping? What exactly happened? What's your first encounter with these guys?
Well, they'll never come out to your face and just tell you, you know, hey, you need to do this. It will always be very subtle. You know, the enemy, the devil does not come out and tell you, hey, come worship me, you know what I mean? And I'll give you whatever you want. He's tried that with some people. He tried that with Jesus, and Jesus turned him down. But the way he does it, he's very subtle. You'll sell your soul slowly, not just, you know, in an overnight type of thing.
When you say slowly, what do you mean?
Through various stages of compromise. You know, one sells their soul through compromising their integrity. So your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotions. So whenever you compromise your integrity, you're losing a portion of your soul. So you lose a portion of your mind, your will, and your emotions. That's why somebody like Britney Spears would be a complete superstar, but, you know, ripping her hair out and shaving her head on camera and going crazy. Why? Because you lose a portion of your soul as you proceed to seek fame and to seek power and the things that you're looking for in the world, which are vanity. But it costs you everything. It costs you your soul, you see. So people are willing to give up their souls in exchange for money, power, and fame, which is the exact same thing that Satan offered Jesus. He said, if you'll bow down and worship me, I'll give you money, power, and fame. Everything you can see in this world, I'll give it to you.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you ever go through these stages by the time you got to that particular stage that made you back out?
Yeah, I mean, I got to like right at the edge where, you know, a young lady was telling me, a young lady who I happened to date at the time, her name was Crystal, and she listened to my music. And this was while I was living in New York. And she says, wow, you know, you can really blow up. You can, you know, you really have the skill to do this thing. And she was like, I know why you haven't blown up yet. You're not a part of the brotherhood. So she took me to a Santeria priest so that I can be initiated into the brotherhood. And after that, you know, you really blow up. And Santeria is big in music business in America. I mean, there's big names in Santeria. There's, you know, Jennifer Lopez, her ex-husband. I mean, just there's big names in Santeria. And you know, Satanism generally, if you look behind the scenes in celebrityhood, there's big Satanists. You know what I mean?
When you say Santeria, what do you mean by Santeria? What's Santeria?
Santeria is it's a form of witchcraft. It's just a form of witchcraft. You know, hell has many entrances, many different religions, many different ways that you can sell your soul, or many different ways to compromise. That's why in Christianity they say there's only one way, through Jesus Christ. But to hell there are many entrances. There's only one entrance to heaven, and that's Jesus. But hell has very many entrances. So Santeria is just one of them. You know, the music industry is another one. The entertainment industry is another entrance. You know, there's so many different entrances. There's banking, there's military, there's all kinds of different entrances into hell. But there's only one way into heaven.
I want us to go back in detail.
Yeah.
This lady who introduced you to this person that you call the Santeria, who is probably, as you say,
he's a priest.
This is a priest, witchcraft priest.
Yeah.
What exactly happened? Narrate to us the story of that day.
Okay. So we were living in Brooklyn, New York at the time. And she takes me to his shop. Now, the shops in New York, they call them bodegas. So she takes me to his bodega. And he's got all kinds of things in his shop. Candles. I saw candles with different pictures of saints, Saint Peter and Saint Paul and Saint Mary and all of these different saints, which we're not supposed to be doing anyway. We're not supposed to be praying through saints. You know, you pray directly to the Father in the name of Jesus. But now there are different saints and different candles for money, candles for dreams, candles for love and romance, and all kinds of, religious witchcraft candles. And then there was books and literature. There's like the 6th and 7th book of Moses, which is a book of witchcraft enchantments and like witchcraft curses, things that you repeat and you can conjure spirits. Okay. So I saw all this stuff in his store and I was like, wow, this stuff is crazy, and there's all kinds of incense and charms and statues and weird things, all kinds of witchcraft things. And then at the counter where you're supposed to pay for the items, there was the cash register, obviously, and then there's a giant a Grim Reaper. I don't know if you know what the Grim Reaper is the angel of death. He's wearing like a black hoodie that covers, a black robe that covers him, and then inside the hood there's a skeleton, and then he's holding a sickle, the long stick that's used for harvesting. So it's a long stem with a very sharp blade at the end. And he's standing on the counter, and from the top to the bottom of this sickle, there's dollar bills on top of dollar bills. You know what I mean? So people sell their souls to this devil because of money, and he really does give them money. But at the end of the contract, that's why Jesus said, "What would it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul?"
All right. So when you went there, the friend who took you there, what were you supposed to get from that particular shop? So in particular, that was going to help your career grow.
Yeah, so Crystal took me to that shop, and what she said was, this man is going to initiate you. He's going to baptize you into the brotherhood. And then after he baptizes you, things are going to start going your way. Yeah. So...
But what was the guarantee? Had it worked for someone else? Are there people who had actually gone that direction?
She mentioned the fact that, all of the greats have done it. Everybody who's ever been great. Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, all of the Big L, all of these guys who had already had deals before, who wanted record deals and got them. And some of them are even big till this day, have passed through the brotherhood. So I said, oh, okay. I was a little hesitant. I was wondering, what does this have to do with music? I'm good at making records. I'm good at crafting records. Why are we doing this? But, when you want something really bad, you're almost desperate, and desperate people do desperate things.
Were you desperate at that time?
Funny enough, I wasn't really desperate, but I was hungry. I wanted this music career. I mean, I'd come back from Kenya. I'm in the States now. I'm ready to make this thing happen. It looked like a door of opportunity. It wasn't so much desperation as it was more like, wow, an opportunity to, really have success. And so, like any other young man, I really wanted it. And so the priest was like, hey, are you ready? We can do this. And I said, I heard a still small voice. When God speaks, it's not like a thundering sound from heaven. It's a little still small voice. And he just said, once you cross this line, you don't go back. So once I heard that, I said, okay, well, let me think about it. And I told him, let me buy some books and see what you guys are about before I jump in. And he said, of course, yeah, go ahead. So I used that excuse to buy some time. And then I got out of that shop. And when I was walking out, I was like, I don't know why I felt like that was close, But I never went back again. But I mean, that was just one instance where I was that close. But I didn't realize it at the time. I just knew that, some of the stuff in there was kind of scary. Like, the Grim Reaper, the angel of death. Like, what is this? What does this have to do with music? So, yeah, I came that close.
And when you talk about the brotherhood, what's the brotherhood in this case?
In the entertainment industry, there are circles of brotherhood, okay? They don't allow you in unless you are covenanted. And to be covenanted means that you've compromised your integrity. You're willing to do anything to get in. So usually it will be some crazy sexual act, you know, on top of an initiation. It's very spiritual, but the sexual act will covenant you to somebody who's already in. So once they sleep with you, or once they, and that's why the industry right now is really a homosexual industry. The American music industry is a homosexual industry. Actually, not just music, entertainment, period. It's a homosexual industry. And so a lot of these guys who you're seeing, I mean, I don't care how gangster they look. A lot of these guys behind the scenes, there's footage of them, you know, doing some homosexual act. And they use that over you. They'll blackmail you with that. They'll say, now, from now on, we own you. Yes, you're a superstar. Yes, you're getting $1 million checks, but we own you. And you're on video. And you know you're on video because you saw them recording you. But they're like, if you really want this, do what you got to do, you know. And people do it because they're desperate. They want fame that much. And when they compromise your integrity on that level, you really do sell your soul, okay? People really sell their soul. That's why Jesus says in Luke 21:19, in your patience, possess ye your souls. He's telling you, hold on, you know, those things you're looking for in life, success, God can give you success. But if you want to compromise your integrity, if you want to take a shortcut to get it, then it's going to cost you your soul.
All right.
Yeah.
I want us to take a short break. I know there's much more to this story that you're here to tell us, because
Yes.
that was just the beginning of what was being lured to sell your soul to the devil.
Yeah.
I want us to take a short break, and when we return, we go deeper into your story, Bamboo. Remember, you can engage us through our social media platforms. That is TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Remember, you can also send your questions. If you have questions for Bamboo, he will be sure to answer those questions, so you can shoot them through. Right now, let's take a short break. Don't go too far. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Saturday Confessions right here on TV47. Remember, you can engage us through our social media platforms. That is TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Tonight, we also talk about exactly what happens in the kingdom of the devil and exactly what's happening in the music industry and generally the showbiz industry. And with us, again, if I can just mention, is Bamboo, who has been narrating to us a little bit about his story. And before we took a short break, of course, you told us your experience. You have a friend who tries to initiate you into devil worship so that you can actually get to grow your career. Of course, your story does not end there. Tell us a little bit about the rest of the story.
Well, after Crystal introduced me to this Santeria priest in New York, I was like, you know, I knew that whatever she was trying to introduce me to was way too deep or way too crazy for me. I wasn't, you know, even if I wanted to get into the industry, I didn't want to mess with the stuff she was messing with. I felt like, man, that stuff is a little deep, you know. So I broke it off with her and left New York, and I moved back to Atlanta. So, you know, needless to say, I continued with the music industry, and then I decided that, you know, I was going to release more music and be traveling back and forth between the US and Kenya so that I can, you know, build the industry while I'm here and build while I'm in the US and just have that and maintain the international appeal. And so I traveled back to Kenya in 2012. Now, when I got back to Kenya, you know, it was, you know, a lot of celebration, you know, hey, Bamboo's back, hey, let's do this thing, you know. And naturally, I jumped right in, you know, with both feet. But I don't think the enemy was done trying to pull me in. So, you know, as time progressed, man, a lot of the doors that were open for me before just started closing all of a sudden, you know. Things that I would do ordinarily that were so easy, all of a sudden,
but does that mean that you were to some degree initiated? Because if then some of the doors were closing, what does that mean?
I think, you see, life is spiritual. Life is very spiritual. So if the devil offers you something and you refuse, he's going to make life very hard for you. But I didn't realize that at that time, because he was like, obviously I was right there at the door. And I'm about to open the door for him to come in. And then I refuse to open the door. So obviously he's angry. He's like, man, I have to get this kid.
I'm curious, by the time you were getting to what you're saying, you know, to try and help us understand,
yeah, you
did get to the door. Of course, it means perhaps there were just small stages of this and that. What was happening during, you know, from the time of meeting these guys who told you about the brotherhood to now taking you to the Santeria? Are there small things that happen in between, perhaps maybe, to, you know, benefits to get you to where you were? Well,
I mean, yeah, there was all kinds of open doors, you know, opportunities. Hey, come meet this guy. Hey, go over there and meet that. I was meeting all kinds of people, you know, and obviously being starstruck. I was never a groupie, but at least being able to meet some of these guys who I really looked up to. I'm meeting Akon, I'm meeting, you know, all of these people, Jay-Z, I'm meeting all of these guys, and I'm like, man, these are the guys, you know what I mean? Like, hey, these guys have already done it, I can do it too. So, obviously I was really excited. And I think that's one of the two entrances the enemy uses into a human being's life. Either extreme excitement or extreme sadness. Extreme sadness being depression, but extreme excitement being, you know, when you're over the moon about something. And he uses either one of those as an entrance because your guard is down. So when I was meeting these people, I was like, man, this is really happening, man. I'm about to get it. I was really confident. So why are you
giving them anything in return to meet Jay-Z, Akon, and the rest of those guys?
No, I wasn't. Just the skill, just having talent, you know, and the people who are around them, they have a good ear for talent. They have a good ear for good music. You know, they can tell when somebody knows how to make good records. So if you can deliver, they'll open the door for you. You know what I mean? Especially if they see that there's a way they can make money off of you. So they'll open the door for you. They'll be like, yeah, man, look, yo, come write for me. Come to the studio. Let's work together. And then afterward, I'll introduce you to so-and-so. So that's how it would work. You come in, you record something for them, you write for them or write for their artist or something. And then they open the door for you to meet. It's usually a favor for a favor,
And before we even go back to the rest of the story, because I know there's a lot more about your story, like you've mentioned, the story does not end there.
Yeah.
With your little experience in the industry, having come into contact with so many artists, of course, even some from the regional area, from maybe Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and the rest of them, are there some who have also sold their souls to the devil in the African region?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That you know of personally?
Yes, that I know of personally. I know personally. I mean, one of them was the one who initiated my wife. Well, before I met her, she at the time she was just a sorcerer, but she had not been initiated to the higher levels. And so one of the musicians that's really famous in Uganda is the one who actually initiated her and introduced her directly to Lucifer himself, and his name is Chameleon. So I don't know, a lot of people know Chameleon, but they have no idea that this guy spiritually is a very high level sorcerer. And not just Chameleon, I mean, musicians all over the world. You hear of a guy called WizKid, but you don't know Wiz is short for wizard. You don't know who these people are. You just hear their music. And because the music is very enticing, and because the anointing that Satan has, Satan was a worshiping angel. He was a cherub that led worship in heaven, okay? So the anointing that he had, he still has it. It's just corrupted. But it still has the power to pull people. So if he anoints you, your music is going to pull people. Okay, that's how they get fans. I mean, fans in the millions.
Right.
So, and it's not just Africa. I mean, all over the world, anywhere in the world where you go, anybody who is a supposed superstar, if you look behind the scenes, there are rituals, there are incantations, there are covenants. You don't just blow up. It's not just about the music.
I'm just curious. Of course, there are Christians who totally believe in God. Who do you think this anointing of the devil pulls? Is it just Christians or just anyone who's willing to listen?
Anyone. It will pull anyone. That's why I encourage Christians not to listen to secular music, because it's going to pull you. And music is very spiritual. So whatever music you're listening to is the spirit that you're inviting into your house. So if I'm listening to, you could listen to a song by Lil Wayne. And if you listen to that music, the spirits that are in Lil Wayne are going to be attracted to you because you're playing their music.
Is this what they had promised you as well?
What?
When you were being taken to the Santeria?
They promised me success. The devil is not going to give you the details. Like what I'm giving you right now are details about what's going to happen, what the enemy is going to use your music to do. Okay, like. They will never tell you. Beyonce, Jay-Z, these guys, they'll never tell you. But when they record a single, first of all, as they're recording in the studio, a spirit will come inside of them. And that spirit is going to perform that music, okay? Now, after they've recorded the music, they are going to take this record, which is called the master copy, and they're going to put it on an altar, and they're going to conjure a spirit and tell demon spirits to follow the master copies wherever the masters go. So if it's distributed through YouTube, if it's distributed through anything, any platform, whether it's MP3, MP4, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, those are just electronic signals. Spirits can follow these things. Whether it's a tape, tapes are a little old-fashioned, but you understand what I'm telling you. They can follow every copy. And anybody who listens to that music is now suddenly has opened up the door for these spirits. Because Satan cannot curse you. He can't just outright curse you. He needs you to cooperate. In fact, Satan needs human beings so that he can attack human beings. So what does he do? He'll give you a song to listen to. And then you'll start listening to this song and you'll start singing along. And as you're singing along, you don't know you're conjuring. Those are not just ordinary lyrics. you are conjuring a spirit that's coming in and has an opportunity to curse your life now because you're participating. He needs your participation.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's now go back to your story now. From you being now, you are abroad and then you come back to Kenya. What happens next? Because now you've moved away from the Santeria.
Yeah.
Santeria was not able to convince you to sell your soul to the devil.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Yeah, so I mean, I got away from that stuff and I was thinking, you know, man, I had a certain amount of success in Africa. Why do I need to, do some ridiculous initiation and stuff like that? Like, that stuff was a little scary, to be honest. So I get back to Kenya and, I continue just making music, touring and things like that. And then, all of a sudden doors start closing. Doors that were ordinarily open, that were open a long time ago. All of a sudden they start closing. Crazy things just begin happening. When you're under attack, you can tell because just things, everything that can go wrong did go wrong. You lose your car, you lose your house, you just lose everything.
Do you think you were losing these things because you refused to sell your soul to the devil?
Absolutely. Because when you're coming towards him, he opens doors. And when you're moving away from them, he starts closing them. You understand? So everything, I lost the house, lost the cars, lost ATMs, lost everything. I would put my ATM in a machine and it swallows the card. Like I remember just sitting down and writing down. It's like, man, how could everything possibly go wrong? You know what I mean? That can go wrong. Everything was going wrong. And so at the time, again, a girl shows up and she's like, look, Bamboo, you should be huge. You're supposed to be all over the place. You're supposed to be a household name. You're a star. I know why things are going crazy for you right now. You need to talk to somebody because what they've done is your enemies have covered your star. They've covered your star. So you have to go and get your star, back.
When you say covered your star, what do you mean?
It's possible, in the world of witchcraft, it's possible to steal somebody's destiny. See, everybody has a star. Even in the Bible, we read about how Joseph had a dream, and in his dream, the 11 stars bowed down to his star, and his star was big. Even Jesus had a star. The Magi came to visit.
So it means if someone interferes with your star, they've interfered with your
destiny,
life?
with your life, yeah. So this lady told me, and she said, look, you need to go and see a certain gentleman, a certain doctor who can help out with your situation because obviously your star has been covered or blah, blah, blah. These are just words that the enemy was using. See, the enemy knows how to send people to initiate you. He might send a boyfriend. If you're a lady, he might send a guy to pull you in. If you're a guy, he'll send a lady to pull you in, or just... He has very many different methods.
All right. So when we return, I want us to go deeper and just understand when you mean your star had been covered, what did you do and what happened?
Yeah.
I want us to take a short break, and when we return, indeed, we will look a little bit more into Bamboo's story. I must mention that Erica is also in studio, and we'll be having Erica at some point during this discussion as we wrap up this very interesting and also chilling narration of stories of Bamboo and of course his wife last week, the encounter with devil worshippers, and of course for Erica serving the devil. So let's take a short break. Don't go too far. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Saturday Confessions right here on TV47. Again, tonight we are hosting Bamboo, the rapper, and he's been sharing his story about the fact that he almost sold his soul to the devil. We'll be sure to sample some of the comments as they come in. Of course, we have quite a number of them. We're trying to fix something small here and there, but let's just look at Twitter. And we have here Josh, who says, Jesus is Lord. Alijinasua vipi na familia yake ilijua the trap he was falling into. Also, Gibson Amenya here is just exclaiming and saying, what? And we also have Andrew. Andrew is saying, watching this right now, is it true or is it just showbiz? Also, Emmanuel here says, Usilete Kompe is a good TBT. Eager to watch how he almost sold his soul to the devil. His wife was also a sorcerer. Well, I think I'll start with Andrew Bamboo. Anasema, is it just showbiz or it's true? Is it showbiz?
It's true. It's absolutely true, you know, but my job, I guess, is just to warn people and just tell you, look, this is what it is what it is, it's the truth. Now, if you want to ignore my warnings, if you want to ignore not just my warnings, but the warnings of every pastor that is out there, any spiritual leader of any, you know, church will tell you that, you know, hey, the devil is real. You know, God is real, Jesus is real, so people have to choose, you know, and I think a lot of people, they know it's true, but admitting the truth requires that they take responsibility, and people don't want to do that. So it's easier to say, oh no, I don't believe you, and go back to your lifestyle, than to say, I do believe you, let me change my lifestyle. You see, people would rather fight God than fight sin. So if you want to fight God, then you'll disagree with me. But if you want to fight sin, then you'll be like, well, he has a point.
And I think why he's asking that is because you're in the showbiz industry. So, of course, there's the question of how valid is your story. But let's just move on, nevertheless. You've come from now the Santeria. You've mentioned a little bit about your interaction with some of these artists. Some of them are also your friends, like you said, who are in devil worship. They've sold their souls to the devil. And some of them are very... you know, people that you know very well. So you come back to Kenya, what happens? Does that pursuit by the devil of selling your soul to the devil stop there, or does it continue?
Well, it continued. So, you know, as the enemy, he really likes to send ladies towards men, and he likes to send men towards ladies, or depending on what, you know, what suits your fancy. So, again, he sends a lady and he tells her to tell me, or he's communicating through her. And he says, you know, basically, look, man, the things that are happening to you, it's not supposed to be happening like this. There's some people who are after you. There are people who are jealous of you, and they've put witchcraft on you. So now you have to go see this guy so that you can get the witchcraft taken off of you, so that things can go well for you again. So obviously at the time, you know, spiritually naive, just like anybody else in the industry, just thinking, hey man, having no idea that life is spiritual, having no idea that God is real, Satan is real. I was just in the industry just because I was good at it and talented, and I loved making music. So, you know, I go to see this guy that she referred me to. His name was Dr. Jafari.
Is this the same lady or someone else?
No, this is another lady.
Oh yeah, you've mentioned it's someone else, but
Yes.
is it, who is this lady?
She, like, I won't mention her name, but she's just a lady around Nairobi, and she, you know, obviously she was like, you should be really far right now, you know, you're just really supposed to be a millionaire and whatever. So, I listened to what she had to say. But who was she in your life,
so that you reached to the point where you're listening to her and taking her advice?
She was posing as a manager, you know. Yeah, she wanted to pose as my manager. You know, so so she introduces me to this guy called Dr. Jafari, you know, and I gave Dr. Jafari a call, and this guy starts explaining everything that I'm going through, and tells me about my situation over the phone, and then tells me that, you know, hey, we have to do some things to rectify this situation. So naturally, I'm curious now, because have you ever called somebody and they start telling you about all your problems? They start, you know, revealing the secrets that you have hidden. And so, needless to say, I went to go see Dr. Jafari. Now, he was in Mombasa, so I traveled to Mombasa to go see this guy. And he picks me up in a nice, slick, black sedan and drives me to my hotel and then tells me to get ready. We're going to go to his office. So I put my things in the hotel, we go back downstairs, and I get back into the car, and we drive to his office. And his office is like a hotel room, but in the corner of the office, there's all these things on the floor, fetishes.
When you say fetishes, what are those?
I mean, things like they're a bit difficult to describe, but they look like calabash. You know a calabash, strange looking bottles. African traditional stuff on the ground. Sitting on a mat. Okay, and there's bottles and there's cans and there's all kinds of things. So he tells me to take off my shoes and sit down. So I took off my shoes. I had a seat, and funny enough, a lot of these guys who are really deep in witchcraft, they pose like he posed like a Muslim. He looked, with the Muslim hat and whatever. And so Dr. Jafari begins to recite an incantation. And as he's doing so, he's saying, strange things like, Bismillah, blah, just things like that you would hear, like sometimes you hear Muslims say some of these things.
But let's not even, okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying what religion he was. He was a witch, So he recites these incantations, and then to my surprise, I was just shocked. A voice comes from the calabash and begins to speak to him in a very ancient Swahili. But it begins to communicate with Dr. Jafari. And Dr. Jafari says that, hey, a young man has come to see you, and he is here because he needs assistance. His enemies have come against him and blah, blah, blah. And he's explaining to the voice, and the voice is responding and giving him instructions.
What was the voice saying?
Well, the voice began to give him instructions on what I should do in order to take the so-called curses off of me. So, and a lot of people get pulled into witchcraft like that. Someone will tell you that, hey, your life is going crazy because people have cursed you. So now you need to go see this witch, or you need to go see this person so they can remove the curses off of you. All right. So if you fall for that, because only Jesus can remove curses. Okay. The blood of Jesus is the only one who removes curses. If you go to anybody else to have curses removed, to have witchcraft removed, to revenge, to use witchcraft, to fight witchcraft, or any of that foolishness, you're putting yourself into witchcraft. You're literally you're selling your soul. All right. So I didn't know that at the time. I thought I was seeking a remedy for the situation, because obviously, if somebody has put something on you, your enemies have put something on you, you're going to try and get that thing removed. And I was seeing the effects. Everything was just disappearing one after the other. So
for someone who has just joined us, I think it's very important to mention, in this case, you're going to Dr. Jafari, as you call him, because you had been told that your star had been hijacked or something like that. So you had to come back, and then now you're in Mombasa and you're trying to fix your star. Yeah. All right. So then tell us exactly what happened. Now the voice is talking to Dr. Jafari.
So the voice is giving instructions to Dr. Jafari. Tell him to go purchase a can and purchase some ingredients. And so the can that he told me to purchase was a can of Zesta. At the time, I didn't understand what he was telling me to do, but I just did it. He told me to purchase a can of Zesta, the jam, So we bought it, and then he told me to go back to the hotel and put it between your feet in the shower, and put some of the herbs over your head, and as you're washing, say, every curse of witchcraft that people have put upon my life, let them come off of me and go into the bottle without opening the bottle. So the bottle was still sealed. The can of Zesta, the jam, was still sealed. So I did so. And then he told me, after you've showered and after you've done that, put the can under your bed, sleep, and I'll come pick you up tomorrow. So naturally I did it. I just out of curiosity, I mean, at this point, I'm hearing voices coming from a calabash. This guy's told me everything that's wrong with me. I'm thinking, man, I'm being driven more by curiosity and fear than anything else. So I put the can, I showered, I did exactly as they told me to do.
Back in your hotel room?
In my hotel room. Took a shower, said every curse that these people have put on me, let it get off of me and get into the can. And then I took the can and I put it under the bed. Of course, I couldn't sleep for a few hours. I kept on waking up to look under the bed like, is the can still there? You know? So finally I doze off. And then, the next morning I wake up, the phone is ringing. It's Dr. Jafari. Come downstairs. Let's go. Bring the can. Don't open it. So I take the can, put it in a bag. I didn't open it, got dressed, and go back to Dr. Jafari's office. He begins to recite the incantations again. The spirit speaks through the calabash and begins to instruct him to tell me to give him the can. And then I pass the can to him. They examine it to see if I've opened it or not. I hadn't opened it. He passed it back to me and he tells me, okay, open the can. So you know how Zesta is, right? You open the can and then there's a steel tin.
Why Zesta? Why not anything else? Why do you think they told you?
He didn't tell me to buy Zesta. He just told me to buy a tinned can. It just needed to be sealed. Okay. So Zesta was just the only thing we found at the supermarket. Like, this is a steel tin. So I opened it myself. I opened the plastic covering, and then there's a tin on the inside that you peel back like that. So I opened it myself. It was sealed. And then after I opened it, I passed it back to Dr. Jafari. Jafari spreads a newspaper on the ground, and then he empties the contents of the can onto the newspaper. And the stuff that came out of that can is stuff that is kind of difficult to describe. It's just, I mean, everything from like beads. I don't know, like the Catholic Church beads. Yeah, I saw that in there. It's like, man, how did that stuff get in there? There were something that looked like a ball, and then it's mixed with the strawberry jam, so it looks reddish and it looks disgusting. You know what I mean? That's how witchcraft is. Witchcraft is disgusting. It's repulsive. But Satan loves the disgusting things. He's dirty like that. He's filthy. He's cursed. Okay, so they had all kinds of things in there. Something that looked like an onion that's been peeled. Things that are difficult to describe. Okay, I saw a white string, and I follow the string, and it turns out that this string is actually the tail of a dead chameleon with its mouth wide open. I was like, oh, that's just disgusting. So Jafari takes a pen and he lifts up every one of those things and he begins to explain to the voice what this is. So he says, here we have, some kind of a chain, some kind of the Catholic, those Catholic chains that they used for the beads or whatnot. So I begin to, just listen to what the explanation is for every one of those things. He lifts it up with a pen and says, here we have a chain. Here we have like a ball of, some kind of a rotten onion or something like that, and all these different things. So the voice from inside the calabash was laughing. It was like, ha, 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 ha. It was. I don't know.
Scared at that time?
I was scared, but at the same time, I'm like, look, if these guys can make all this stuff appear in a can, imagine what they can do to your body. You know what I mean? So let me just cooperate and get through with it and do whatever they ask and get away. So, and at the same time, there's still a level of foolishness. Just a young guy still trying to make it in the industry and stuff. So, I just decided, okay, let me just do what these guys say and then get out of Mombasa.
What did they tell you about the stuff that came out of the can?
He said every one of those different ingredients represented a different curse that my enemies had put on me to prevent me from succeeding, because naturally the music industry is very competitive. So one guy might not want the other guy to really do well. So in order to bring this other guy down, he'll go and and sacrifice on an altar, and he'll sacrifice something big just to prevent you from, from really doing well. And that's just the nature of the hatred within the industry. People hate on people. Like, it's not just in the industry, man. There's families that do that to one another. There's even Erica's aunt, my wife's aunt, put curses on her, bewitched her to bring her down so that she could, so that she could come up.
So now those things being in that can, did that mean that you had actually now been set free, since they were saying those things had come out of your body?
Oh, it wasn't over yet. Now, all of those different ingredients represented a different kind of curse. One was financial, the other was so that I couldn't travel, the other one was to block any kind of open doors that were open for me before. Everything represented some form of misfortune. So now the key was the voice explained to Dr. Jafari that now what I need to do to get rid of all of this stuff, I need to pay to have a camel sacrificed. And when they sacrifice this camel, the
animal itself?
An animal, yes. So I was supposed to buy an animal, and they're going to go and sacrifice it. They're going to pour the blood into a basin, and that basin, they're going to pour that blood onto all of this stuff to cover it, okay? In other words, that my enemies had sacrificed to pull me down, I have to sacrifice to get back up. You understand? This is the kingdom of darkness, though. This is how it really works. In the kingdom of darkness, nobody moves up except through sacrifice. Even in Christianity, nobody moves up except by the blood of Jesus. He was the final sacrifice. All right, but nothing moves unless there's bloodshed. All right.
So did you buy the camel?
I paid for it. Yes, I paid for it. I was wondering, like, now where am I supposed to get a camel? I mean, it's not like they sell them on the street corner. Dr. Jafari was like, "Don't worry about that. I've got that covered." So I gave him the money.
How much?
It's funny. It was 100,000.
Wow.
So I gave him the money for a camel, and I told him, because he wanted me to go with him to sacrifice it, and we were supposed to do it on the beach after nightfall. So to me, that just kind of sounded like one of those trips you don't come back from, So I was like, yeah, here, you take the money, you sacrifice it, you do whatever you have to do. I'm going to be, elsewhere. I'll be at the theater. Actually, I think I was watching an Avengers movie or something. So he agreed. He said, "No problem. I'll do it for you." So while he was doing that, I was, watching some movie. And then while I'm watching the movie, something started happening, I started feeling as if something is like really trying to take over my mind. Like, how, I don't know, maybe if you're feeling sleepy and you don't want to sleep, you just kind of just shake your head like that. Well, I started really, feeling like something's coming to put me to sleep, and I started fighting it. And the more I fought it, the stronger it became. And I knew I wasn't sleepy. It was maybe around 8:30 or 9 p.m. I was wide awake, And in those days, man, we wouldn't sleep till like 3 or 4 a.m., maybe 5 a.m. sometimes anyway. So, man, this thing comes to take over my mind. I didn't understand what was happening, but I had a feeling it had something to do with whatever Jafari was doing on the beach. So I just tried to fight. I woke up. I stood up. I stepped out of the theater because, we were watching the movie in the theater. I step out in the middle of the movie. I said, forget the movie. I walked into the lobby. I'm shaking my head. I'm like, man, this is crazy. What, something's really trying to make me faint, really wanted me to pass out. And I could tell, like, if you pass out from this thing, you might not wake up. So I called a friend of mine who happens to be a pastor and told him what I did. And then he started praying immediately over the phone. And whatever that thing was, it was about to make me pass out. I was about to faint. Whatever it was, it stopped. And then it left me alone. And then I went back into the movie theater. And obviously, I couldn't even focus on what was happening in the movie. Like, man, my life was a real movie, So, I mean, needless to say, I got out of town quick. I got out of Mombasa quick, got back to Nairobi, and, I stopped messing with this guy. But I realized...
Has Dr. Jafari ever looked for you since then?
No, he's never looked for me since then.
He didn't even call you, perhaps, to ask you if his efforts to try and deliver you worked?
Nope. I think to a certain extent, these guys know that what they're doing is evil, you know. So if people escape, they don't really go after them that hard. But you know, there's a lot of people who fall for that, you know, because witchcraft is very real. And if you seek a remedy other than Jesus Christ to rectify the situation, you're going to put yourself in witchcraft. And then witchcraft does not go away. It just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And you know, you can start out sacrificing a chicken, but as you get deeper in, you'll be sacrificing big things, you know, because you want big things. You want bigger and bigger things. So that's how I escaped. But Dr. Jafari told me that I'm not the only musician who he's helped before.
I want to ask you.
Yeah.
When you say you begin to sacrifice big things like what exactly?
Well, you'll start out depending on what you want. You know, Satan does not give you anything for free. You have to sacrifice something. That's the language he understands. He understands the language of sacrifice.
When you say sacrifice, do you mean killing something or someone?
Yeah, something's got to die. Without the flow of blood, there is no sacrifice.
All right. I want us to take a short break, and when we return, I want us to talk a little bit more about now the fact that you did not give your soul to the devil, and now you have actually moved away from anything that will lure you in that direction. And I want us to take a short break. And remember, you can engage us through our social media platforms. That is TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I have a lot of comments from many of you who are watching. And when we return after this break, we will be sampling some of them. And of course, I'll allow Bamboo to, respond to some of these comments. I know one is about your sister, but we'll allow you to answer that question afterwards. So let's take a short break. Don't go too far. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Saturday Confessions right here on TV47. Before we took a short break, Bamboo definitely just gave us a narration of his story towards the end. The fact that he, in the end, did not give or sell his soul to the devil. Now, before we even go too far, I want us to sample some of the comments coming from many of you online. And we have Mama Afrique, called Mama Afrique Bange. She is saying, this is crazy. The devil is here to destroy, but most importantly, so is the King of Kings above all. Amen. We also have here Kevin Fraji is saying Victoria Kimani is Bamboo's sister in this case. Just ask if she knew and shared the whole deal with her. I think he meant with him. Bamboo, I'll leave that to you. Maybe you can answer that question. Because, of course, your sister is also a musician. The question, of course, would be, if you know these truths about the industry, why allow your sister to proceed?
Well, I mean, salvation is personal, you know, and she's an adult, so she has to see it for herself. I think a lot of the things that I've been speaking about, she hasn't seen it, so she hasn't gotten to the level where I got to, and they haven't approached her like that. But I believe eventually they will, and when they do, she'll be in a position to say no. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then we have Mary Faber. He's saying the interview was so quiet. I think the whole idea here is I'm trying to give Bamboo an opportunity to share his story because it's so intense. Sometimes you don't want to break in between. Samuel Mbugo is saying, I think this is real in most of the prominent people. Yeah. We also have Somedo Shagzoja is saying, so Wizkid, Wizard, you've been my long-time favorite rapper back in 2Ks. I don't know what that means. I'm not so much of .com, but hey.
Yeah, you know Wizkid has that song where he says in his lyrics, he says, beautiful like Mami Wata, eh? Girl, God bless your father. So why is he saying beautiful like Mami Wata? You know who's Mami Wata? Mami Wata is a mermaid spirit. A mermaid is half human, half fish. Where do you see these? You have to conjure them at the riverside, at the side, or at the beach. So you conjure that spirit, and then you begin to have a covenant with that spirit. If you see them, they're very attractive. So that's why Wizkid is telling you that this girl is beautiful like Mami Wata.
Oh, wow. So Rosen Dirangu here says, these stories are, let me just take it back a bit. She's saying these stories are scary. Of course, another comment there, Simon is saying, devil's tale where greed path leads. We also have Melody Canyon is saying, this dude never got past this. And of course, many other comments of people saying that they're following, they're locked in, and they are watching. Of course, Erica Mukisa has joined us.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You guys, you're now married.
Yes.
And you definitely are doing things together to help people.
Yeah.
So when we look at now Erica's story, Bamboo's story, and the fact that you are actually one of the guys luring people into the kingdom of the devil.
Yes.
And then Bamboo here was a victim of people who were trying to lure him into the kingdom of the devil. So I think the question many would ask, and I'm just guessing, probably there's someone who's watching right now and they're wondering, so how do I get out? Of course, when we spoke to you, Erica, last week, you told us that even when you were trying to get out of sorcery, the devil was taunting you and telling you, know what, if you leave, I'm going to kill you. No one survives. You know, so I'll just start by asking you, Erica, is there a chance for someone to come out of the occult or devil worshipping, or basically having sold to your soul to the devil? Can you get it back?
Yes, you can. You can. What I decided to do from the time I got delivered, I started praying for people. I started telling them what is happening, and also provided an opportunity for them to escape. So we have every Friday we have ministry. We pray for people to get delivered at Father's House Family Church in Nairobi, Ruiru Town. So we basically avail ourselves to help as many people as possible. Sometimes we are invited to different places. Like from the time I got delivered, I've gone to almost all churches in Uganda, praying for people, testifying, and doing whatever I can to see that I bring souls back into the kingdom of God. So I believe there are so many ministries that are also trying to avail these services, although many pastors don't know about this deliverance bit of it. So you find that some of these people are being taken advantage of. Some people will ask them for money before they pray for them. Yeah, so if you go to a minister who is asking you for money for your deliverance, you need to run out of that place, because Jesus died for everyone and he did not charge anyone for money.
I think even before we go too far and go into deliverance and even understanding what deliverance is in this case, both of you are married.
Yes.
Of course, there's someone who's asking, how did you two meet to the point that now you're married?
Yeah.
And you are also doing ministry together and helping people who are victims of either being devil worshippers or being one of the ones being hunted down. Bamboo.
Yes, we met through a mutual friend by the name of Tommy. Tommy's father was an archbishop in Kisumu. Yeah, his name was Silas Owiti, and now his wife is the archbishop of Vosh Church in Kisumu. Vosh stands for Voice of Salvation and Healing, and so Tommy, reached out to me through Facebook, and we just started, going back and forth and talking about things concerning like what we're discussing now, and then. He sent me a portion of Erica's testimony in which she was just ministering somewhere in Kisumu. And then I asked for Erica's contacts, and we just started, talking because, I'd been through something similar. And then we just started building from there. And I think probably 3 or 4 years later is when we got married. Yeah.
Erica, how does it feel now? I mean, both of you are together. You've gone through the same experience. How does it work for you?
Yeah, it's very okay, because we understand people when they come to us. Having come from that kind of experience, he understands my kind of ministry. I also understand his ministry. And together, we are a team. We help other people. Have you come into contact with people who maybe have the same testimonies of either being devil worshippers or being, lured into devil worshipping?
Absolutely.
Thousands of people. Thousands. In Uganda, if I was to make them line up, there are thousands of them. In Kenya, even this, is it yesterday? Yesterday, every Friday we have deliverance. Yesterday we had some of them getting delivered from the Marine Kingdom. So we have very many cases, like a man came with his wife. The wife was eating mattresses. And we prayed for the wife, she got delivered. Another one came with the son. The son was eating clothes, eating and swallowing. It's difficult to explain these things to people and they understand, but the baby ate toilet paper in the church.
When you say delivered, the Bamboo, what do you mean by deliverance?
The spirits that are tormenting them, leave them, and they are free. Yeah. So
life is spiritual.
Yeah, we've had cases. There is another boy who we prayed for and he got free. He was eating bricks. Every day he would eat a brick. He was not eating food. So we prayed for him and he got delivered. He's now free. He's testifying also. So many cases. Yeah. So thank God.
When we look at now the people you're helping, what exactly happens? How can someone access that deliverance?
Sure, they can reach out to us. They can feel free to give us a call, call our office at +254 717 062 098. That's +254 717 062 098, or you may dial +254 799 733 775. That's +254 799 733 775.
Right.
Or follow us on Erica Belinda Ministries on Facebook. And also we have books that they can read. They are available on Amazon Kindle. We have
and just to look a bit about you, if my director can just maybe have those books on the screen, just tell us a bit about your books briefly.
In Erica Part 1, 7 Years in Hell, I write about witchcraft and family. I explain about what happened to me, how I was initiated by relatives. I was initiated when I was young. So in this particular book, I write about family trees, how people are affected by the bloodline. You find that a certain family is being tormented. You find that a certain family is being tormented with immorality. A certain family, they are barren in another family, things like that. But I also teach them how to get out of it. And I talk about secular music. In Erica Part 2, I talk about the New World Order. I explain about some of the things I was talking about in the previous interview. Okay. And Erica Part 3, Witchcraft and Spiritual Warfare. I talk about witchcraft and how someone can pray against witchcraft, the marine kingdom. You know, people are being tormented by spirits in the night. So
quite a number of books there. There are, I think, 4 in total.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so you guys have written books, and I'm sure many people will be reaching out to you. It's so commendable, you know, to see exactly what you guys are doing. The testimonies you have shared, they're just chilling, especially Erica's story. Bamboo, you bought a whole camel for 100,000.
I bought a camel for 100,000.
100K just went like that. Okay.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously it didn't solve the problem. So, you know, witchcraft will, you know, delving into witchcraft will not solve your problem. It'll just put you deeper in.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your testimonies. Bamboo the rapper. Man, you guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
Erica, Issa, thank you so much for coming. Of course, this has been Saturday Confessions. We have been having, you know, this story going on for the last week Saturday and today, and this has been Saturday Confessions, where we've been talking about the kingdom of darkness, people who have gone into the music industry, who are in devil worshipping. Erica Mukisa, of course, who also shared a story in sorcery, you know, her former engagement with the devil directly. We hope that you have learned something. We hope that you have been encouraged and inspired to do something different about your life. And in case, again, you want to reach out to Erica Mukisa and Bamboo, you can, of course, engage with us on social media or call the number on your screen and let us know who you are and how we can actually connect you to Erica. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Leangare, and of course, our sign language interpreter tonight has been Anne Wairimo. Again, if you want to engage us, to reach out to Bamboo and Erica, you can just write to us through our social media platforms. That's TV47KE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and of course through our SMS line and our phone number. Thank you for watching. Until next week, Saturday, for another yet exciting story. Do have a good night and God bless.